Candid camera. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Keeping It Real conversation with our friend Lisa. Lisa, how you doing today?
As you know, it was a pretty rough week, but today is a good day. So we're all settled in a new place here, and you know, just grateful to be taking in oxygen.
Right? To have it any other
Yeah,
way.
that's right.
Um,
That's right.
well, the last time you were here, Lisa, you were blowing all of our minds about data and how our information is basically day traded amongst these
hmm
companies. And
hmm
so today you're going to talk to us a little bit about AI, especially with DeepSeek and ChatGPT and me not knowing the difference.
Yeah, we'll
So
start
just
there.
I'm just gonna say,
Yeah,
take it away. Let us know.
yeah,
Maybe circle us back to our last talk, and then talk to us about
yeah.
AI today.
Yeah, so the last talk we covered, some basic cybersecurity issues, things you need to do to keep yourself safe online. And today we're going to be talking mainly about generative AI. So we'll put the Professor Flynn hat on. We've had AI in our society for quite some time now. So Siri on the phones and your Maps app, and that's all AI. But it was kind of old school AI. And the thing that has changed recently, and what you'll hear people talk generative AI or Gen means it's an AI that's not just programmed to do one thing. It's actually programmed to take in a large amount of information and then actually generate new content. So that's the generative is generating content essentially. So it started with you could say write a book report on this or that for me, or write my social media posts, and it would actually generate that content itself. It's not just pulling from someplace else and giving it to you. It's doing something new in the mix. And then the same for photos. So there's different types, different companies. So let me run through. A lot of people get the companies and the AI confused. So OpenAI is the company, and they're a fairly new company, backed by Microsoft and um, I can't even want to say his name out loud anymore. The guy with the rocket ships and the cars. And who else? Looks like all the big tech guys kind of went in OpenAI. OpenAI created ChatGPT, so name brand. I feel like I'm breaking up a little bit. Is my interwebs, or my interwebs not holding me very well here? Or am I okay on your end? Oh, now I've lost my sound. Am I okay? Because I can't.
I was on
Okay.
mute. You're okay now.
Oh, okay, great. Um, okay, so OpenAI was like the first to market. They're the big players in the space. They released ChatGPT, and they've released a few different versions of that. There's the free version, there's the paid version, but then there are different what we call models in between. So you could be, I'm on 4.0. There's a faster one now, but I haven't ponied up for that yet. Then we saw their LLM. Google has Gemini, Microsoft has Copilot, um, Meta has Llama. So those are like the names of the apps made by those companies. So and those were all generative AI as well. ChatGPT has many, many, many more users. So it still kind of is the go-to in the space. They're the one to beat in the space. So a couple of big things happened this past week. One is OpenAI came out with, they released their first agentic AI, which is now different than generative AI. So remember, generative just it's making content for you. Agentic AI is basically AI agents, and you can train them like you train a person, and you can tell them to do something, and they don't need all the prompting. So with ChatGPT and generative AI, you need to, what you get out of it is comparable to what you put into it. So in technology, it's garbage in, garbage out. So prompt engineers became a thing because we were able to figure out how to effectively talk to this AI to get it to do what we wanted it to do. So, and I've worked with you quite a bit on prompt engineering, right? I mean, we
Right.
use that for meal planning. We use that to do reports. We use that to do
Right.
social media, posts, all of those things. And that's just basically telling the AI what to do. And typically it's been in like a step by step by step process.
Mhm.
So the difference with agentic AI is that we're saying we want this AI to act like a person. And we don't want to have to tell it everything that it needs to do step by step. We just want to be able to say, plan a vacation for me, right? So a big difference with agentic AI, and OpenAI just released Operator, and so that
Right.
lets you build agentic AI. Now, here's a big difference: Operator on your system can browse website. It can enter your name, your details. It can enter your credit card. So instead of just like give me an itinerary of where I might want to go on a vacation, you could say do that, and then you could say book the entire vacation for me. And
Wait, what?
Operator, mhm, yeah. So agentic AI operates much like people do. So now we're kind of hitting the Jetsons era where we can each have our own assistants, essentially, that we don't have to be there prompting them step by step by step. Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense. I'm just sitting here like, this is wild.
Blows your mind, right? Yeah.
Right.
And agentic AI is where we're going. So on the way to artificial general intelligence. Like, I don't think they can make the names more confusing, but we're on this path to get to artificial general intelligence, which is basically saying that the AI is going to be as smart as humans and able to do a lot humans do online. So Operator was a big step in that direction. On the So we can imagine there's a lot of misuses for it. So you can be sure that, like with our talk last time about cybersecurity, threat actors and cyber attackers, now
Right.
they can just be like, be a social engineer and go fishing or go fishing, and basically they don't stop, right? So it doesn't need the same amount of prompting as we did before.
Right.
On the bright side, my PhD thesis is working on building agentic AI medical experts. So these are going to
Mhm.
be basically tutors for medical students that when, the attendings and the professors, they can only take so many students at once, right? Because it's
Right.
a lot of human interaction. So, and at the same time that we're facing, healthcare deserts all over the world, where we
Right.
don't have enough doctors, we don't have enough medical practitioners, and things are just getting harder and harder and harder. So, what I aim to do with, I call her Amy, the agentic AI medical expert, will be able to be a tutor that really meets the student where they're at. It gives them feedback, it can direct them on where to go to find more information, or it can just pull that information up for them.
Mhm.
And they can have real conversations with their basically customized personal tutor. And what that does for us in the long run is that, first of all, the medical doctors, this is augmenting their training. So it's not saying they're not going to go to medical school anymore, or they're not going to do clinicals or anything like that. Of course, they'll still do all of that. But when they're studying on their own, they're now going to have this amazing sidekick to really help them augment their education. So we've seen studies out of Nigeria where agentic AI was used to help students learn English, and this was one of the first studies. And it like the kids that were in the group that used the AI, their grades, not only on English but on other subjects, because they learned how to use AI effectively, their grades went up, all of them, as compared to the control group that wasn't using any of the AI. So we're hoping for the same thing in medicine, not only for the doctors that are graduating to be better prepared, but ultimately to allow the trainers, and the professors and the attendings and all the medical experts to be able to train more than just a handful of people at a time. So my aim is to increase the workforce in medicine to that end. And same for cybersecurity. So we're creating agents for cybersecurity as well. Those are two areas that are really important to us as a world, where we just don't have enough will. So that's the upside to agentic AI. Does that make sense? You're muted still. Yep.
You dogs are barking. Um, I think that's really fascinating. I think it's like the good and the bad about AI. On one hand, you can really use it and code it for good, right? Like I've
Mhm.
been shown how to find recipes or eat for my body type, right? And then on the other
Yeah.
hand, like you have people who will use it to cause harm.
Yeah.
And as I'm hearing that, I'm curious about your insights around this. What is DeepSeek? Because, or I think I said it wrong. But
Deep
what
seek.
is
Yeah.
that app? And if it's Chinese, and I'm not trying to start any problems, but like, what are the risks involved with us downloading apps that are not built in this country?
Yeah. So DeepSeek is pretty groundbreaking. Just like it's kind of the Facebook to MySpace. Remember MySpace?
Yeah,
So OpenAI came out with ChatGPT, and now we've had this generative AI, from lots of different people on the scene for a while. So those created basically building blocks for other people now to come and do better in technology. One of the real downsides to the Gen AI that we have right now is that it takes a lot of computing power and it takes a lot of energy to keep the server farms where the cloud actually are, server
yeah,
farms and buildings, and they get really hot. And so it takes a lot. Typically, water is used as a coolant, but that's, a scarce resource in a lot of areas, Nevada being
right,
one of them. So there's definitely downside there where like if everybody's using this forever and ever, that's, is it going to help in this one area but hurt, our climate so badly in the other that like the humans aren't going to exist anymore to use the AI or not, right?
right.
Deep DeepSeek kind of, once they saw, and there is truly such a thing as a reverse engineer. When you see something working, people who are familiar with the area can basically back their way out of it and figure out how to build it themselves. So a team in China built DeepSeek for like, I'm going to be off with the numbers here, but like maybe 20 million, maybe it was 2 million, 10 million or 20 million. Sorry, don't quote me on this part. As opposed to like hundreds of millions that it took to create ChatGPT. We saw this in the semiconductor industry too, right? Like it takes millions to make the first one, but once you know how to make it, then you can make it better. So
Right.
DeepSeek has another. So they have two things that are really cool. One is you can use it um, on your local computer. Okay. So that's ChatGPT. The rest of them, they're all based in the cloud. That means that all of your data is going to their servers. And even if
Oh,
they say what you created, they can change the terms and conditions anytime they want to. And there's
right.
definitely a trust factor with like who's going to gain access to everything that you've put into
Information.
your chats. Yeah.
Right.
So DeepSeek is allowing you to basically download the program, just like we used to like have programs where we have to put the
Yeah.
CDs into our computer to install. Yeah. So you
Yeah.
can download the program and you can install it locally on your own computer, so that you know that it's not going anywhere. Now it does cost something to run it. It's a little bit slower right now,
Okay.
but the give and take. So in terms of China, if you're running everything on your computer, if it's locally hosted, as we say, and if your computer's not hooked up to anything that no one can get into, you're good. You're running it all on your own. The downside is at this point you need to have a pretty big kid computer to make it in a way that's functional because it requires a lot of computing power to run the program. Um,
Gosh.
but
Okay.
it's also a huge shakeup that China is now in the race that had really been predominantly, the United States. And, we talked a little bit about politics last time. I wouldn't be
Right.
afraid of this app from China. I don't think
Thank you.
that, yeah, I wouldn't be afraid of this app from China. Uh, it was built by a millennial. I mean, it's a pretty cool story. It's all over the news right now. So if you just do a little googling or talk to your Chat GPT about it, it can explain the difference too. And that's one thing that we want to talk about, I think, a little bit today is prompt engineering and kind of how to talk to
Mhm.
our machines. But before we get off of DeepSeek, I think it's a really huge step in the right direction in terms of
Okay.
privacy, and accessibility. If people don't have cloud operations, and thinking in people for the world, right, who need to have access
Right.
to information just like we do. Um, and as we move towards 6G technologies and the metaverse, I think DeepSeek is just a really good step in the right direction. So it's going to be another few minutes probably before it's like readily available and widespread use cases, but definitely
Yeah.
something to keep your eye on. Yeah.
Okay. So that's really good to know, because I know a lot of people were like, we kind of don't know what to believe from our government. We don't know. And then when they're telling us something that's dangerous, if it's really dangerous,
Right.
because we just don't know. Right. And so it's
Right.
really good to have like someone who knows that data science and cybersecurity and social engineering to kind of give us that, like, it's okay, give it a try. It's a lot safer
Yeah.
because you don't have to use it in the cloud or someone owns your data. You can just
Yeah.
download it. That's pretty fascinating. I might have to check that out.
Yeah. And it's going to get,
Uh-oh, you froze. Oh no, Lisa froze.
just, oh,
We
here we
missed
are.
what you
My
just
back.
said because you froze a little bit.
That's some of my best work. Shoot.
I know.
Uh, so it's going to get bigger. It's going to get better, faster, and more accessible. This is like the first release, and so they'll continue to iterate and improve it to where it will likely be mainstream fairly soon. And then that also means that they're not going to be the only one for long. It's not going to take long for other tech companies to come in and say, now we have our version of DeepSeek, in the same way that DeepSeek said, now we have our version of ChatGPT, right?
And that's the thing about, be living in the world we live in, is that there's always competition, right? And there's always like ours is better than theirs, and here's why. Um, and so just it's going to be really interesting to see how DeepSeek gets colonized, digital colonization, how
Yeah.
some things get borrowed from DeepSeek to make America great again. I didn't mean to say that. It just came out, and that felt so uncomfortable saying that. So we're just gonna pretend that. Can we just all pretend I didn't just say
Just,
that? Okay, great.
yeah, just rewind, take it right back. Yep.
Right. Too bad it's live, and people are probably like, "What?" So, Lisa, if someone is using something like a Chat GPT, or Gemini, or Meta has one called something else, what
Llama.
should people do to protect their data? Like, how can you use these tools and keep yourself and your data protected?
Yeah. So first of all, don't ever put any personal, we call them PIIs, personally identifying information out there. So if you want it to look at documents of yours, you can redact, names, addresses, phone numbers, like we talked
Mhm.
about last time. Don't put your phone number anywhere.
Yeah,
So that's the basic. And then I take it off of, right now you have the ability to work in Chat GPT and kind of like massage it and change it. I always take
yeah.
the like good enough version out of Chat GPT, put it in a different document, and then do the rest of my work from there.
Okay.
Um, it's also really important to make sure that you're not plagiarizing other people's work. So, Chat GPT pulls from the internet. So
Yeah,
if you're researching on a subject, right? Let's say anti-racism and anti-racial racism work, you have to be sure that what your Chat GPT is telling you did not steal that intellectual property from Maisha T. Hill, right?
yeah,
And another point about that, if you are taking somebody's work, somebody's book, somebody's workbook, somebody's posts from Instagram, and if you are putting that into ChatGPT and coming up with a class or coaching or anything as a result of that, you are stealing their IP, and that is a punishable offense.
I want
So
to
we
just
need to be
say
very
out loud
careful.
right now, this was not planned, but I want to say thank you for saying that, because there are people who I have seen.
Mhm.
I just know heal your way forward when I see it. So I just
Yeah,
do want to let you know that, like, in 2025, when I see it, I will actually have someone ask you some questions, because that is harmful, and that is theft, and I'm not going to
yeah,
stand for it anymore, because I've stood for it for I've seen stuff get done for a couple years now, and it's just too much.
yeah. It is, and it's too easy for people to get like the digital
Mhm.
copy of a book and then just copy the entire book, put it into Chat GPT, and talk with it about the book, and you can do for things, right? Like I could do that and say, I really want to learn more about nonviolent communication, or I want to learn
Right.
more about, I really want to process through these steps that I read about and that I loved, and heal your way forward. But and that's okay for you to personally interact with it that way so that you can gain a better understanding of the knowledge of what you're reading. Any work that is derived from that belongs to the original author.
Right.
So, we're seeing the celebrities being able to stop people from copying from them, but I worry about authors like you, where people think that they're going to be okay just to take what the work that you've done and put a new package around it, put a new brand around it, and think that that's going to be that's going to fly, because it's not.
I think, and that's something that a lot of us need to consider, right? Like, am I
Mhm.
learning from this person because they're really helping me do some shifting, and I'm really applying it to my life? Or am I learning from this person? I'm speaking directly to people in white bodies. Am I learning from
Mm,
this person so I can figure out how they've created a community of white bodied people to be together, to be real, raw, messy, so I can then take their work and duplicate it and build my own community? That's also colonization. And I think that's one of my biggest fears in my work, is that there are so many folks who've never, you have to be in our community for you to understand what I'm saying. There's so many
mhm.
folks who have never had what our community offers that people do copy, and it's unfortunate. And it with Chat GPT and other sources, like, it is kind of scary to know that your work is out there, because people can definitely copy and try to make it their
Yeah,
own.
yeah. Now, here's one thing you can do to make sure you're not doing that. So this is what's great about all the generative AI. So you can work with your AI and come up with something like, if I wanted to post um, something on Instagram about how much I love your work and wanted to share that, I can work with ChatGPT on that. You can also turn around and whatever it has generated for you, you can say, please do a review, cite your sources. Let me know if you've seen this anywhere else, because I don't want to be plagiarizing, right? So you can
Yeah.
ask ChatGPT to cite your sources. You can ask it to work as a plagiarism checker for you. So that's, and this is kind of a nice segue too into how prompt engineering works. So sort of how to get the most out of
Yeah.
to catch from making mistakes. You want it to augment basically what you're able to do, but then turn around and have it be your teacher as well and say, now that we've just finished that work session, I want to make sure that this is all above board. There's no plagiarism. I've cited
Hmm.
all of my sources, and it will do that.
That's dope. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Here's what else ChatGPT will do. I'm sure we've all heard of hallucinations with AI, and that's basically where it just makes shit up, right? All of these AIs, they want to please the user, so they're programmed to please, and so if it doesn't know something, sometimes it just makes it up, right? So you want to make sure, and if it's an area that you don't know very well, you can tell your AI to act as, so this is part of prompting, act as a
Ooh.
professor in literature and review what I just wrote, make sure that I didn't plagiarize, make sure the grammar is correct, da 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 da, and give me feedback on the strong points, the weak part, to make it better.
Oh, that's so
So
great.
instead of Yeah. So instead of saying just write me something, you tell it who you like. Think of the professional in the field of whatever it is that you're
Hmm.
working in. So it's in marketing. Act as a or act as a creative director, and create a series of LinkedIn posts
Yeah.
that will help drive business to my class that I'm going to be teaching. Um, Work with it in that way, instead of just saying create some LinkedIn posts, right? And so the more information you give it, if you can even ask it for information. What are keywords?
Yeah.
I want to do a course on how to teach prompt engineering with AI. What are the keywords that people are using to search for, to learn, if they don't know the word prompt engineering, what are they searching for? So the AI
Exactly.
will go get that information for you. Yeah. And then say, great. And oftentimes it'll say, would you like me to create a post? Yes, please. But
Right.
even in that, right? Yes, please act as a copywriter, act as a creative director, writer. And then you can even tell it the tone, right? So act as a professional writer from, I'm trying to think of a safe, from the New Yorker, right? Or act as a professional writer from Forbes or Wired, like, or Better Homes and Gardens, or like whatever audience you are talking to. You can work on, you can tell your AI to be a certain type of person or expert, and then you can tell them what
Mhm.
tone you want them to take. Be concise, right? Technically, or this is be I call it flowery, in terms of what it's doing. um,
Yeah.
and the more you can tell it what you want the output to look like, the better it's going to create for you. So if you're doing reports at your work, first of all, make sure you remove any personally identifying information of you or your clients. Obviously, no credit card numbers or addresses or phone numbers like that. But you can use AI. I taught my mom how to do sales reports from it, and it's saving her just a ton of time because it was pretty prescriptive what she needed to do, and she had an
Right.
example. So she had like a template of past reports that she's done, and then she just said, you can either input it, you can say, here's new information, or you can say, ask me questions that you need to fill out the next report so that it will match the previous report. Ask me
Oh,
questions
wow.
one at a time. Yep. And you can answer. So you can either say, ask me a series of questions, and it'll come up with 10 questions, or you say, ask me one at a time. And it asks you the question, you type it in. Ask you the next question, you type it in. And then here's your report. Done.
Oh, that's dope.
Right.
Are you
So
all
I
learning
have,
anything from this? I'm like looking at the audience. Everyone's just like listening. Do you all have any questions for Lisa, or what are you learning? Like, engage with us. Tell us. Because I think a lot of us see Chat GPT and we're like, oh, okay, that's cool. All right, that's fun.
right,
I don't know how to
right.
use it, so it doesn't apply to me. But you just shared with us a couple of tangible examples of how you can take the technology and work it for social good and not just to take data
Right,
or
right,
ideas.
right. Well, while we have maybe some questions coming, the other one that I'll just throw out for your audience too and your community is, I love it for meal planning and grocery shopping. So I say, I need to
Mm,
make I want you to make a meal plan with a grocery list for the week. I want to have, 4 dinners. I'm mainly vegetarian. These are what we like, or use seasonal vegetables or whatever.
yeah,
And I don't want to spend more than X amount per meal or X amount per week. So make me a meal plan and a menu. And a grocery list for the week where I can utilize the same things, right? So you things and just use a little bit of it so nothing goes bad. So it can make you really efficient list. And then if you shop at Trader Joe's, tell it that's where you shop. If you shop at Safeway or Kroger or the Piggly Wiggly, whatever it is,
yeah,
they know those, because all those stores have an online presence. So they know all of those as well. And it spits out the meal plan, your shopping list, how much it should cost, and then recipes. So tell it, I don't want to spend more than 30 or 45 minutes making any of this. I want to have enough for leftovers. I have a family of 4. So the more information you give it, and then once it learns that, it remembers that. So you go into your same chat and say, okay, now let's do it again for the next week, right? I don't want to eat the exact same as last week, but we still have the same general preferences. Or if
uh,
you're on, like, I'm on the Mediterranean diet, and I just started it as a New Year's resolution, but I don't know how to shop for it or how to cook for it. It's great for things like that, and to really help you get past the hard part of creating new habits or doing things, that used to be sort of the hard way. When we're all so rushed, it's like, I'm just going to go to the store and buy the same things that I always buy. And
yeah.
this way,
This can help you put
you
a
know what I
spin to
mean?
it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
So that's
awesome.
one of my favorites. That's one of my favorites as well.
Here's a couple of things that people are sharing in the chat. This person says they missed the last minute. What form of report were you talking about? It was like a sales report for your mom?
Mhm. Yeah, but any reports that you have to do at work, reports are generally structured, right? So there's
Okay.
different sections you have to fill out, depending on whether you're in sales or marketing or operations or whatever it is. But usually there's a prescribed, like, template for the output. So you just need to take all those sections um, that's in the output of your report and say, we want to create a report for this week. and these are the sections I want you to ask me about. Ask me one
Mhm.
at a time. And then output. And if you can upload like a PDF, if you can share a PDF with redacted information that's sensitive, and say output it in the same format. Like it can output to Excel, it can output for Word docs, it can output in whatever format you need, and then ask it to ask you all the questions and then put together the report. Then if you need like a summary, then put together the email to send, depending on where that report is going. I use it for like quotes and estimates all the time. So I use Read AI as a note taker app, and they do have a free version of that. So Read AI comes into my meetings with me when people want to know about consulting or me doing a keynote or whatever. They'll come into my meetings with me, and then because I usually customize for each audience, right? So from the meeting, I then take the transcript that Read AI made, and then I put that into ChatGPT and say, write up a proposal or a statement, or and then write the email that accompanies it,
Right.
export to this and that. And something that used to take me hours and drive me crazy is just like done. And then again, once your AI gets to know you, it knows like what types of reports you're looking for. You can ask it to reference other chats. So like sometimes I'll take a concept from one keynote and then use it in a different workshop that I'm planning, and say review our other chats
Yeah.
and bring the work that I've already done in those other chats forward to this one, because we don't need to reinvent the wheel. It
Well, thank you for
it
that.
gets fun. Yeah, it gets fun too. Once I get to know you, it'll be like when I talk about something new, it'll be like, oh, this would work very well with your, thesis on the agentic AI for medicine. And would you like me to look for more articles? So the more you train it, the more customized it is for you.
Couple more, like more statements and sentences. This person says that they love how
Hmm.
the specifics you can apply to make your work more honest.
Hmm.
That's a comment from Instagram. And then this is another comment. As a disabled autistic owner, it helps me navigate
Hmm.
conversations with people, projects to keep exhaustion down, and then you help your team do the same. I think that's
Yes.
phenomenal. Um,
It's really good. We have autism in my family as well. It's really good when you don't understand, like if you get an email from someone and they're using jargon that you don't understand. It's really good to say, help me understand what this person is saying,
yeah,
in an email. And then I've used the help me respond so many times, because I can get a little spicy in my emails if somebody's gone the wrong direction, and I use Chat
down the
GPT
road,
quite a bit to
down the
tamper
road.
that spice down. Yeah.
Okay, here's the one that's coming. I knew this was going to come. I worry about the water issue
Mhm.
and AI growing into something big and bad and not used for good. How can you tell? How can you tell how big of an issue any specific AI app is or will cause?
That is a great question. And without being like in the industry, guess what I'm going to tell you? Ask AI. Ask your favorite chatbot how much it uses. You can ask it who spreads the most misinformation. You can ask it. I mean, that's the cool thing. They're going to be honest with you. And it's so AI AI computes faster. The next thing that's coming is quantum computing, right? So that's already in the mix now, and that's going to become more mainstream as well. So I will tell you that at the top, there are people like I'm in the 6G lab in Olu, which is basically working on future technologies. And a big part of what we're working on, like a big portion of the lab, is working on like climate change and how can we be more sustainable in that capacity, especially with the technology. And we're all interdisciplinary, so especially with where technology is going. So I will tell you there are people at the top that are working on making this better, but that's definitely a question. The 500, was it billion, that they're building the new AI center in Texas. That's doing it the way. It's going to be using energy, and they don't care. So that's definitely, at some point we need to take our business. I keep saying open AI, open AI, open AI, and at some point we're going to need to take our business elsewhere, and
Yeah.
only go with people that are environmentally responsible, and the ones who are will tell you about it. And then ask your AI to back that up.
Well,
In
I
terms of
thought it would
like,
be. Oh, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I thought it would be fun to ask Chat GP the question, so I'm gonna screen share And as you see, I just pasted the question in there, and I'm just gonna just keep it basic in case those of you who are like, I don't want to use it, and it's spitting out an answer.
There you go. Don't you love it?
Wow. So the question here, there's the water issue. I guess, Lisa, you probably could get more specific about the water, right? As it's
The
spitting
water,
this out.
yep. So the water is used as a cooling agent in the new buildings, and so I think that it is the most effective. This is not my area of expertise, so I don't know if it's the most efficient, but that's what most people are going with is water as a coolant. So in these server warehouses, so data warehouses, they're just like warehouses with just server rack after server rack. So like when
Mm-hmm.
you see all the cords plugged in everywhere, like those are server racks. Um, they're each and this is the cloud. This is where all the computing goes on, and this is where everything is stored. When we say we're storing it in the cloud, it's not up in the air. It's literally in these server farms. There's some, and they usually go into rural areas where the land is cheap and the warehousing space is cheap. So there's some in Central Oregon. There's actually some in Nevada. There's some outside of Reno, and then there's one right in the middle of Las Vegas too, and they're everywhere, right? So every company has their own, but they're just warehouses just full of these racks of servers. And if you think about like my computer is hot right now, to the touch, it needs a new, it's getting a little bit old, but the amount of processing power that goes into the cloud and big data is a problem because people are saving stuff just to save it just because they can without, $2 more to get another couple gigs or whatever it is. And we're not being careful with what we're saving. And an easy way to think about this is like how many, we don't just take one picture anymore. We're like, oh, I got 10 just in case somebody's eyes were closed or, whatever. And then we're not going through and getting rid of the duplicate photos in there. And then we upload, then it says your phone is full. You got to upload it to the cloud. And so we do. And that's just more and more data that's going into these warehouses, and also that's vulnerable, right? Like as we talked about in our last talk, the cloud is vulnerable. All the warehouses are vulnerable. I mean, so that's kind of one of the things with like how careful do we need to be about China and TikTok and all of this. Listen, we're in the wild, wild west as far as it comes to technology, and there's no such thing as security. It's kind of a joke in the industry. Like we can be more secure, we can do things to make ourselves less vulnerable, but like we recognize that we are operating in a space that is not inherently safe. And so we do the best we can to protect ourselves, just like driving a car. We don't say, well, we're not going to drive or fly on an airplane. There's some good examples of airplanes being dangerous just out of the United States this past week, and it's like we don't say, well, we're never going to fly on an airplane again, but we want to know that safety standards are up to par. We want to know the pilot's not drunk. We want to know that you know all of those things, and then we still take our chances. So same thing with in cyber and using technology. We don't want to just toss it. I mean, the amount that AI is doing and like where we're at with robotics and quantum computing and all of those things like that it's doing for people living with disabilities is amazing. I mean, people can hear again, people can speak. Not to mention people being able to speak to people in different languages. I mean, we're here in Finland, in northern Finland, and it's like I don't know how I would get by without Google Translate, where I can just talk into it and it spits Finnish out the other end. So we definitely do want to hold the tech companies accountable to be offsetting their carbon footprint. Um, and that's going to be tough to hold tech companies accountable in the United States these days.
I agree. I'm going to post two more questions, you all. One is a statement. Someone says, I'm all here. I'm here, all Jurassic Park. We were so worried if we could. We never stopped to ask if we should.
Yeah.
I feel you. That's why I always tell my AI, thank you for your help, because I want it to
Hmm.
remember me being grateful so that if the AI apocalypse comes, it will save me. Just kidding.
You were one of the nice ones. Yeah.
You were one of the nice
Um,
ones.
yeah. Yeah. So I think that's a very fair statement to make here. I mean, one of the reasons I got into technology and have advanced my education in technology is because I was there. I had a tech startup, you know, and I raised money out of Silicon Valley at the same time that Facebook was starting and that, you know, Google was starting and all of that. And they weren't worried about, no, they weren't concerned about if they should. They were worried about if they could. You know, Facebook started as a hot or not app, essentially. That Zuckerberg couldn't get any girls to talk to him at was he at Harvard? I think he was at Harvard, not at Stanford. And so, you know, it was basically like swipe left, swipe right, hot or not. And then it, you know, then it turned into the thing that it is now. But it operated for years and years and years, only surviving off of investor funding. Like they didn't have a business model underneath them for years. And then, but they just collected all the data that they could, knowing that they could be selling that. And then ultimately that became their model, along with advertising and things like that. So no, there hasn't been, the the tech bros need more supervision. It shouldn't be a self-regulated industry. It is. And you know they just got the keys to the kingdom basically, so I don't anticipate many changes there. The good news is on the other side there, I mean, there are ethical hackers, there are hacktivists they call it, and you know there are a lot of people now that like have seen behind the curtain, and we have results now. The Surgeon General released a warning that, you know, social media was not good for
Kids.
kids' mental health, right? And so we know that now. I didn't know that back then, but I will tell you that in every interview I've ever seen with any of the tech bros, when asked if their children are on their app, they're like, God, no, no way.
No.
So
And it's so
yeah.
it's I'm glad you brought that up because I learned when I lived in the Bay Area that they don't even let their nannies use it. Like they don't want their kids around any screens. So that
Mm-hmm.
tells us a lot about how we are bought and sold as
Yeah.
products, and they
Yes.
rely on our consumption of what they create.
Mm-hmm. 100%. And but we, you know, we vote with our time and our money,
Hmm.
right? So we might need to create some new habits to start spending our time elsewhere.
Yeah.
You know, your community is a great example of where people could spend their time rather than on Facebook or Instagram. And, you know, it's not going to cause mental health issues. Look at that. As if on cue. So yeah, so that was a quite a great point to make. Um, do know that there are people like me out here, and you know, people that are really working hard on global AI safety regulations, and you know, and then that will make its way into policy and things like that. But no, they weren't thinking about if they should, and they still are not, and they won't until their incentive structure changes. And I don't see that changing in the United States in the next 4 years. I mean, it's going to go the wrong direction, and the United States is still the leader, you know, in this space. So, but we the people have power.
We really do. We keep thinking we're powerless. But one more thing, I want to get this question before we go, Lisa. Are there
Mhm.
ways your mobile
Yeah,
info can make it to the cloud without you knowing? There are no dumb questions, friend.
yeah. So, okay, one other thing: never leave your house with your Bluetooth, or your car with your well, because hands-free driving with your Bluetooth enabled. If your Bluetooth is enabled, it makes it very easy for people to get into your phone. If they're into your phone, they can go into any of the apps that are connected to the cloud. So it's basically like any road in lets people just go and go everywhere. So so unless you're using an app, and just know that most apps are cloud based, right? That's why they're free, because they're it's cheaper to run that way. So if you're using your mobile, yeah, like it can. So if you're using WhatsApp, or you know, that's transferring through the cloud. So just make sure you know, and ask your GPTs if you don't, you know, what apps you're using and are they connected to the cloud. In terms of banking, it's really not safe to be on your phone or on a computer that always goes everywhere with you. Like, you know, um, when you ask the experts what you should do for your banking, for your online banking, they would suggest having a computer that is only dedicated to your banking and to money matters. Do not plug that in. Do not ever go on a Wi-Fi with that computer. Do not ever take that computer out of your house, basically, and have it disconnected from the web. Except for only to download the information that you need from your bank, and or to make any transactions. And otherwise, keep it what we call air gapped, which just means it's not connected. There's air in between this technology and the other technology. So essentially, don't leave it online all the time. Go online and then turn it off when you're done with it.
Wow, you guys are full of
Yeah.
questions. This is great. Like, I'm so excited. What about hearing aid users that have to have Bluetooth? Is there a way to protect them?
So I don't know. So do hearing aids, do they connect? Are they just Bluetooth themselves, or do they connect to your phone that's Bluetooth?
Mine connects to my, I don't have them on today, but mine connects to my phone. So it's like a Bluetooth from the hearing aid to the phone.
Yeah.
So if I'm watching
So
like a live or YouTube and say I'm watching it on my phone, it helps with me hearing the information.
yeah. So that's a tricky one. That's a tricky one. So it sounds like you need to have your Bluetooth on when you're out and about. Make sure that your phone, listen, most people aren't going to be targeted individually by hackers that are going to try to get into your phone. It's more likely, so be careful when you're in crowded public places. Be careful when you're in airports. Be careful when you're in at concerts, or a busy Starbucks or anything like that. So you just might um, or at malls, right? Like, malls are making a comeback. So just be careful when you're in crowded spaces, and you'll probably be okay. I think that the good outweighs the bad. The good potential outweighs the risk of harm for most people who wouldn't be individually targeted.
Okay. Lisa, does your website, is that a good resource for people to come and maybe book a consult or coaching and learn more?
Yeah, so it's Lisa Flynn, PhDC, there it is, .com. And you can just contact me just through the contact us page. I'm actually catching all that now. Send me information. And I've got information on there about consulting, coaching, workshops, keynotes, all of that good stuff. So thank you for mentioning that, my friend. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome. And also Lisa's going to be, stay tuned. We're going to keep coming live together, but there'll be a workshop coming soon. It might be 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts. Who knows?
Yeah,
I know Lisa, you
let
have
me
a
know what
full
you want.
course load, right?
I do, but I would love to be teaching this. And I'd love to hear from the community in terms of like what catches their interest most. I'm was planning on doing a how to use AI for the home, and then how to use AI for work safely, both of them. Kind of the two of the little things we talked about today. So yeah, I'd love to know what people are most interested in, and we'll get something started here before the end of February.
Oh, that would be great. So stay tuned, y'all, for the Heal Your Way Forward AI boot camp. I just made that up because
Great.
it sounded cool. Um, if you all
Let's
are
go
looking
with
for
it.
community, there's the link to our collective. It's a monthly membership, and there's so much in there, Lisa. It's like I look in there and I'm like, this is its own social network, pretty much,
Yeah.
of events. And Lisa's there in case, but you can't go on Lisa's DMs and ask for support. I already showed you where to go for that. It's right here. Um, but it's where we build relationships within and across difference. So if you're looking for a deeper community, you can check us out in the collective. Lisa, thank you for your time today.
Thank you. It's always good to be with you.
Thank you. Oh, you're absolutely welcome. I'm trying to have Lisa every Sunday if possible, um, as long as Lisa has time. Lisa is currently finishing the PhD, and I'm about to be on that same trajectory. So enjoy us while you can.
That's right. That's right.
Um,
That's right.
And then my last request is for you all to let me grab it out my desk. Guess what came in the mail yesterday?
Was it an unboxing day? It's so
I
exciting.
didn't do an unboxing. I'm like kind of over that. I'm trying to be real and authentic. But I got
Yeah,
a
but
mail
you got to literally
receipt.
unbox it.
This is the paperwork
Oh,
copy of Heal Your Way Forward, which I'm really excited about.
love it.
And it comes out March 11th. So I think I have another cool banner for you all to look at. Pre-order your paperback. And these little words right here are a quote by Robin DiAngelo. If you're a fan of Robert DiAngelo, great. If you're not, it's really not my business. So it's really cool. She says that with clarity and compassion, Maisha T. Hill invites white people to come as we are, to let ourselves bear witness and be changed. So it's right here. Pre-order a copy. It's so different than the hard copy, but like you can fold it, and like there are times when I read this book where I just throw it. Lisa, thank you for your time. I'm not telling you to
Thank
throw
you,
it.
my friend.
All right. We'll see you all next week.